Hey guys, Bart from TST Industries here. Welcome to TST Garage. Today in the shop, I have a 2017 and up Yamaha YZF R6. In the two previous segments of this video series, we showed you how to install our standard and adjustable Elite 1 fender eliminator systems, but we didn't show you how to install signaling components along with that system. So, promised you we would make these videos, and today we will shoot two new segments, one going over our standard OEM signal relocating bracket that places your OEM signals in this area, and also an installation video showing you how to install our pod signal kits along with our fender eliminator components. So, this episode will be focusing on the installation of our TST Industries pod signal kits. We'll show the installation procedure to you in detail, step by step. So let's get started. So whether you've chosen our regular TST Industries pod signals or our slimline lights or any other lights that we offer, or you might have actually gotten them from elsewhere, not our company, the preparation steps before installation on the bike is going to be the same across the board. I'm going to use these for this installation because they're a little bit larger and easier for my hands to work with. First step, stretch out the wires, identify our connections on our signals. Black is negative, yellow is positive. Let's get the nut off these. Our pod signal mounting kit consists of L brackets and all the hardware necessary for installation. I'll grab one of these brackets and identify the slotted portion and the round portion. The round portion will mount onto the license plate bracket behind the license plate, and the slotted portion will go on the stud here. So let's get this on in this orientation, making sure that the L bend is away from the lamp. I'm going to replace this nut, flange first. I'm just going to get it seated but preserve adjustability so that we can finalize the positioning on the bike. Now for this installation, I'm going to be making use of our optional harness converter kit. It takes our universal connectors here. These are bullet connectors. It's color coded for our signals, black to black, yellow to yellow. And then this will terminate in the Yamaha OEM connection that plugs right into your harness. This will be done once we have these wires in the trunk compartment. So let me back up a step here. I will repeat these steps for the other signal. All right, now get on the bike and perform the installation of these parts and our electrical connection on there. This next step will consist of removing one side of the hardware holding the license plate on and replacing it with the hardware provided in our pod signal mounting kit, along with one of the signal lamps behind this assembly here. The reason why we don't reuse these components is that they are not robust enough to provide enough pressure between all of these components to keep this without any slop in it. So let's do that. I'm gonna grab one of the screws from our kit, put a washer on it, get that through the outside, get our signal and bracket on the back side of that, and then use another washer and the provided locking nut to make that bolted connection. And tools required for this step: a 10mm box or open-ended wrench and a 4mm Allen key. As always, we will bottom this out without tightening it too much. We want to preserve some adjustability so we can fine-tune the position. Now we can make sure that the stalk of the pod signal is parallel to the ground, and then go ahead and lock it down. All right, that looks good. Now I'm going to make sure that the surface of the lens is perpendicular to the ground. And then I'm going to use a 14mm open-ended wrench to tighten that down from the inside. Now, there's a point I have to make here. You are turning a nut onto a stud that has been overmolded with rubber. With enough torque exerted on this connection, you will rip out the stud because it's held in only by the bonding strength of the rubber to the metal. The key takeaway here is that we only want to tighten down this nut enough so that it preloads the rubber, and that way there is force exerted on this connection so that the serrated flange of the nut and the rubber exerting friction on this bracket will keep it in place and it won't go anywhere. So I like what I've done here. This is good to go. I'm going to repeat the procedure on the other side. All right, now we can get each one of these wire pairs through the hole, through the routing hole in our closeout, and get them over into the trunk compartment. And I like to do one side at a time here. So once these come out through the top, I'll grab one of these harness converters and get them plugged in. Like I said, yellow to yellow, black to black. Now, as you can see here, we have insulators for these connections, but they are free to move around. So we're going to have to lock them in place so that they don't slip off and cause a short and cause a fuse to blow. Here's some electrical tape here. The idea is just to lock them in place. Now I'm working on the left signal here, and the left harness plug for the signaling system is the black one. So I will plug this into this connection, and I'm just going to test the signal, make sure everything's good to go, and in fact it is. So I'm going to move on to the next side, repeat the procedure. And once this is nice and tight and neat, we'll plug it into the other connector that's still left open. Test it, and it looks good. So now we can start closing this up. We will need to route these wires appropriately for cable management. There's a clip up here that we can make use of. These guys plug back into a little tie strap across the top. Let's see, that's how it goes. All right, and once these wires are routed, all the other steps are the reverse order of disassembly that we showed you in a previous video covering the installation of all the hardware components. All I'm going to do at this point is jump to the bottom, use a couple of wire ties to neaten up my wire routing, and then we'll be good to go. So like I mentioned, I'm going to want to route my wires back here and lock them down with wire ties. Once I bundle those together, they flow along the contours of our license plate bracket and are very neat. All right. Let's test the system one more time. We have right signal, we have left signal. As you guys can notice here, these are not flashing erratically. We don't have hyper flash. They're not flashing faster than the OEM rate of 85 cycles per minute. On this particular bike, there's no need for resistors. There's no need for replacing the relay. If you're doing just the rear signals and you happen to be using our LED signals, they will continue to flash at the proper rate. All right, so pretty simple, takes a couple minutes, leaves a really nice low profile effect here as compared to the OEM setup. Still very bright, good spacing, and takes away all that bulk that you may not want on your bike. Thanks for watching. I had fun working on this bike. I hope you had fun following along. I'll see you at tstindustries.com. Later.